Hello everyone. Today I will recap you a movie titled, You Were Never Really Here. So make some tea and we'll start. We see how a person puts a bag on his head and, obviously, remembers some traumatic moment from his childhood. After that, we see how he allegedly cleans the crime scene. Washes the hammer from the blood, destroys the SIM card, burns the photo. After that, he leaves the hotel room where all this happened, leaving a sign on the door that says, Do Not Disturb. He is about to leave through the main entrance, but sees a police car there, so he exits through the emergency room. In an alley, a man attacks him from behind, but the man quickly deals with him. He gets into a taxi. In the next scene we see him making a phone call and saying, Done. A man returns home and at the entrance crosses eyes with some guy who smokes on the balcony of a neighboring house. We find out that the main character lives with his mother. This is an elderly woman, and she sleeps in front of the TV. Mom and Joe, that's the name of the main character, are on good terms, and she asks her son to stay with her because she's afraid to fall asleep alone after a TV show that scared her. After that, we see Joe applying ice to his shoulder, on which a hematoma is visible. In the morning, Joe's mother asks Joe from the bathroom where to find a toothbrush, which enrages the man, and he asks his mother to get out of the bathroom. Apparently his mother has some kind of dementia, and Joe is trying to help her. He cleans the bathroom because his mother spilled water everywhere. After that, Joe leaves the house. He comes to the store and talks to its owner. He gives Joe the money, and Joe asks if his son told him that he saw Joe yesterday when he came home. The owner says yes, but his son didn't tell him where it is because he shouldn't know where Joe lives. Joe says he has to say goodbye and leaves, leaving the man some money. Joe and his mother clean the silverware at home. Mom asks Joe how Janice is doing and says she would be a good mother. Janice is a woman Joe dated 20 years ago. In the next scene, we see Joe choking himself with a bag again, and memories from his childhood come flooding back to him, but his mother calls him. Then we see Joe standing at the train stop and looking away. It becomes obvious that Joe is thinking about killing himself on his own. Joe enters his employer's office. He informs them that they will no longer work with the store owner. The employer informs Joe that he has to find a girl, the missing daughter of a high-ranking person. Joe is dating the girl's father. He gives him the address from an anonymous letter and says that the girl's name is Nina. Joe says he'll pick her up if she's there. Apparently, minors are being raped in this place. The girl's father asks to find her kidnappers. Joe comes over and parks the car. He goes to the store and apparently buys the usual set, a hammer, scotch tape. Passers-by on the street ask Joe to take a picture of them. The man does it, but he feels uncomfortable. He waits for the man and says that he has been waiting for him for 20 minutes, to which he asks Joe to relax. Joe hands him a couple of bills, after which he strikes and tells him not to keep him waiting any longer. Joe is sitting in the sauna with a towel on his head. Pictures from the past pop up in his head. People in military uniforms hug and let a child through a mesh fence in sneakers. This child is killed by a boy, and he runs away, taking the sneakers. Joe is driving through the night city by car. He stops and sinks back into his memories. The man remembers the dead girls piled in heaps in a cargo container. Joe sees a man and asks how to get to this place. He cuts him off and demands to answer questions honestly. He asked about the number and location of the guards, as well as the whereabouts of the children. Upon learning this, Joe asks for the lock code, then knocks the guy down and ties him up. Joe enters the house and deals with one guard. After and with another. He also kills several men who raped girls by beating them with a hammer. He finds a girl who looks like the girl in the photo, but she doesn't say a word, but only counts in her mind. Joe and the girl come to the parking lot. The girl discovers blood on her fingers and hugs Joe. Joe tries to calm her down, but she starts kissing him and he stops her. He says everything is fine now and they just need to wait a bit. Joe takes Nina to a hotel room where they are supposed to meet her father. At this time, they learn from the TV report that the senator, Nina's father, jumped out of the window and died. There is a knock on the door of the room. Joe opens the door, and the knocker gets shot in the back of the head. Joe raises his hands, and two armed men in police uniforms enter the room. One of them takes the girl away, and the other stays with Joe, pointing a gun at him. Joe attacks him and manages to strangle a policeman. After that, he leaves the hotel. In the next scene, we see Joe pulling out a tooth that was hit by a bullet during a fight. Joe tries to call his employer, but he doesn't pick up the phone. By morning, Joe comes home to his employer. He carefully inspects the house, taking a kitchen knife from the table. At this time, the kettle boils in the kitchen. After inspecting the house, Joe finds a gun and takes it with him. Joe finds his employer disfigured in the workplace. He calls people he used to work with, and we see that they are being killed. Also in Joe's head there are memories of his father. Obviously he raped Joe when he was little. Joe drives up to his house. He climbs in through the window. His mother is lying on a made-up bed with a pillow on her head. Joe continues to inspect the house and hears a man. Memories come back to him. He sees his mother lying under the table and suffocating in a bag. He goes down to the first floor and shoots 2 men. One of them remains alive and continues to crawl after being wounded. Joe asks him which one of them killed his mother. He doesn't answer, and Joe tries to find out where Nina is. The wounded man replies that she is now with the governor, that she is his favorite. Joe asks if his mother was very scared, to which the man replies that she was asleep. The man starts singing a song, and Joe sings along to him. Joe gets into the car and takes his mother's body with him. He brings his mother to the shore of the lake and drowns her in it. Joe himself is in no hurry to pop up and counts down like Nina, but when Nina's voice starts sounding in his head, he takes the stones out of his pockets and pops up. Joe is on the train and thinks about Nina. He drives up to the governor's office in a car and sees him leaving the office and getting into a car with security guards. Joe is chasing the car. The governor is resting in his mansion, and Joe, having dealt with the guard with a hammer, enters the mansion. He finds the governor dead, with his throat cut. Joe sits down on the floor and starts crying, saying that he is weak. He takes off his shirt and goes down the stairs, hears a knock and goes to him. On the way, he sees his mother, father sitting with a towel on their face and little himself. He sees Nina eating at the table, and a bloody razor is lying next to her. Nina says that everything is fine. We see Joe filling up the car and Nina sitting in the car with him. While eating, Nina asks where they are going, and Joe replies that they are going wherever Nina wants. Nina gets up from the table, and Joe is left alone with the sounds of a roadside cafe. Joe shoots himself in the head and no one even notices. Nina returns, and Joe just lies down with his head on the table. Nina says it's time for them to leave and that it was a good day. Joe says it's really a wonderful day.